The oldest rock that we've dated is the breccia, the dust and accumulated dust on the surface, and it is about 4.6 billion years old.
That's billion with a B?
Billion, yes. 9 zeros afterwards. The rocks that we have here in the lab are a bit younger than that. These run about 3.6 to 3.8 billion years old. They're older than any rocks that we know of on Earth. Our oldest Earth rocks are around 3.5 billion years old. These rocks are equal or older in age to anything we have discovered so far in our collections throughout the world.
Is there a difference? You have several samples of varying sizes. Is there a difference in what you can learn from them?
It turns out you can learn an awful lot from a very small sample. We've been working on samples as small as a few microns. We have some pictures here of just the surface properties of some of these samples, where you're looking at spheres and indentations on the spheres and blobs of nickel iron on the surface. These are very small. This is a very large sample. For samples that were distributed to scientists, it's 22 grams. We work on generally a few tenths of a gram or maybe a few hundredths of a gram of material.
From what everyone has learned from peering into and probing these rock samples, have you destroyed any theories about the moon's surface, or have you gained any new ones?
Well, I guess you can say we destroyed the theory that it was green cheese, but beyond that, no. We have modified a number of theories, I think. The fact that the lunar surface is so old certainly tells us that we have to revise our thinking about its time of origin and its mode of origin, really.
When the Congress added another $1.5 billion to the HEW budget, we couldn't even spend it intelligently at this point because you have to go through the various states and the other systems, and it's the wrong dollars in the wrong place at the wrong time, into things like impacted aid, into Title I, and we just think it's not only inflationary, it's irresponsible, and we think the priorities of Congress are not our priorities. They're putting it into programs that have not worked, and we'd like to see our priorities, obviously, and we've had this sort of shootout at OK Corral is what it's come down to.
Watson did not appear in court today as counsel waived his appearance. But Judge David Brown granted a 30-day continuance after attorneys for the defense asked for 60 days to prepare for evidence. County Attorney Tom Ryan argued, however, that all of the material evidence the defense was seeking was not germane to this case, and that extradition was sure as death itself, and the only thing that the defense was seeking was delay. Also at issue today was the extradition, whether the extradition was valid and whether this is the same Charles Watson that is wanted for the murders in California. Fingerprint experts testified that the same prints found in California matched those of Charles Watson here in McKinney. Later, I talked with Officer Jerry Bowen of the Los Angeles Police Department about those prints. Officer Bowen, you were the fingerprint section of the Los Angeles Police Department. You were at the scene of the crime involved in this case. What did you find there?
Well, I can only tell you what I testified here in court today, that I found prints on the front door of the Tate residence.
Now, what led you to believe that these prints were the same as those of Charles Watson?
Well, numerous prints were checked against these prints that were found. The prints from Watson were brought down from Homicide Division.
Defense attorneys argue that the prints that were issued in court today were not valid, as they were strictly copies. But Judge Brown overruled them and set the next hearing for February the 16th. This is Carl Mayo McKinney, Channel 8 News.
I think that it was very fortunate that it worked out this way, because we have preserved about as close an alignment to what we had before we broke down into national and American conferences. And our whole intent in the merger and in the alignment was to retain the competition between the American Football League and the National Football League on as close a basis as we could.